Hey guys, this is the Paramount Theatre in Seattle where Nirvana had one of their most iconic performances. The concert took place on October 31st, 1991, though the video of the performance wasn't officially released until 20 years later on September 24th, 2011 as a DVD and Blu-ray disc. Nevermind was released on September 24th, 1991, so the Live at the Paramount DVD Blu-ray was released exactly 20 years to the day from Nevermind's original release. The show at the Paramount was the final leg of Nirvana's Nevermind Tour in the US before they headed off to Europe. On the morning of the Paramount performance, Kurt Cobain got word that Nevermind had just turned gold, meaning it had sold 500,000 copies since its release 5 weeks earlier. As mentioned, this concert is one of Nirvana's most iconic, thanks in large part to the video of the performance. Interestingly, however, according to grunge photographer Charles Peterson, Nirvana didn't even know the concert was going to be recorded. In Charles Peterson's own words, quote, "The record label, unbeknownst to Nirvana, had set up a big film shoot. There were 6 guys all clad in black running around with compact 35mm movie cameras, and I was like, this is the beginning of the end. It was so unfair to their home audience because it stilted the performance. It reeked of money." End quote. Now, interestingly, Charles Peterson said the camera crew were using 35mm cameras, though officially it's listed that they were using 16mm film, so that's a technical point about the film recording that may require further clarification. Despite the fact that the surprise recording of the show may have potentially stilted Nirvana's performance to a certain extent, the Paramount show is widely regarded by many fans and critics alike as one of Nirvana's best performances. I think one of the most interesting comments about the performance made by a critic was when Mark Deming of AllMusic, an American online music database, compared the Nirvana performance at the Paramount to the Beatles' 1964 film A Hard Day's Night, in that both Live at the Paramount and A Hard Day's Night, quote, captured the artist at a moment where success was a pleasure just before it became a burden, end quote. In Everett True's words, a music journalist and good friend of Kurt Cobain's, he described the show as, quote, the end of an era. Incontrovertibly, Nirvana was now big news. Similarly, Pitchfork editor Jason Green stated that, quote, the joy of Live at the Paramount is hearing the charge of this moment. A great band newly famous, still reeling and flooded with nervy adrenaline, end quote. The Paramount performance is widely considered one of the turning points for Nirvana as a band. A year earlier, on September 22nd, 1990, Nirvana's performance at the Motorsports Garage in front of about 1,000 people was seen by many as a definitive indicator that Nirvana was about to really take off. A year later, the performance at the Paramount on October 31st, 1991 was seen by many as the definitive indicator that Nirvana had arrived. For the next 2.5 years, Nirvana's stardom would only continue to rise. Even today, one could argue Nirvana's popularity is as widespread as ever, and I'm sure it will be for many years to come. In my opinion, Nirvana is going to be one of those bands that's always going to be around. That's one of the reasons I enjoy looking into the history of this band. It's interesting to see how this incredibly culturally significant band got to where they did, and some of the marquee moments in their journey. The performance at the Paramount is definitely one of those marquee moments. Nirvana's setlist that night is also symbolic in a sense because it included songs that appear on all 3 of their studio albums as well as on Incesticide. Mind you, by this point in time, Incesticide and In Utero had not yet been released, but Aneurysm, which Nirvana played that night, would end up on Incesticide, and Rape Me, which Nirvana also played that night, would end up on In Utero. One of the most notable parts of the concert is Nirvana's performance of Endless Nameless. It's regarded by many as the definitive live performance of that song. It was the closing song of the night, and it features one of Nirvana's classic equipment smashing sessions. Kurt swings his guitar around his head, drags the guitar across the floor, smashing it over and over, and eventually tosses it in the air and watches it snap in half as it hits the ground. Chris Novoselic proceeds to toss the body of Kurt's broken guitar in the air a few times until he successfully hits it with his bass. In all this chaos, Dave Grohl is in the background continuing to play the drums, and he walks out of it unscathed. The performance of Endless Nameless at Live at the Paramount is definitely one of the best examples of Nirvana's raw energy as a band. Another notable performance from that night is Aneurysm. It's one of the best examples of the power and energy Dave Grohl brought to the band. Nirvana is firing on all cylinders with that rendition of the song. Some of the performance footage from the Paramount show appears in the music video for Lithium, which was released in July of 1992. Nirvana's rendition of Drain You from the Paramount was released as a B-side to Nirvana's second Nevermind single, Come As You Are. Nirvana's rendition of Been a Sun from the Paramount show was released as a B-side to Nirvana's third Nevermind single, Lithium. Andy Wallace, the man who mixed Nevermind, also mixed the Live at the Paramount performance. The renditions of About a Girl, Breed, Polly, and Endless Nameless from the Paramount show appear on Nirvana's Live Tonight Sold Out, a video compilation of different live performances originally released in November of 1994. Nirvana's rendition of Negative Creep from the Paramount show was released in October of 1996 as part of the live compilation album From the Muddy Banks of the Wishkah. As mentioned, Nirvana's performance at the Paramount Theatre was part of their Nevermind Tour, which lasted from August 15, 1991 until February 22, 1992. The first show of the tour was at the Roxy Theatre in Los Angeles, and the final show of the tour was in Honolulu, Hawaii, at a venue called Pink's Garage. Nirvana played a total of 103 shows in 15 different countries over the course of the Nevermind Tour. The Paramount Theatre show being near the middle of the tour, it was their 49th show. Interestingly, this show was originally supposed to be at the Moore Theatre, but due to high demand, the show was moved over to the Paramount Theatre, which seats roughly 1,000 more people than the Moore. The Paramount Theatre itself at the time of this recording currently seats 2,807 people and was opened on March 1, 1928, initially under the name the Seattle Theatre, and it's designated as a City of Seattle landmark. On April 12, 2019, Nirvana's Live at the Paramount was released for the first time on vinyl, and it actually made it onto various album charts, peaking at the 14th spot on Billboard's US Alternative Album Sales chart in 2019. The original 2011 video release also charted, peaking at the number 1 position on the Australian DVD chart and the number 1 position on Billboard's US Top Music Video Sales chart in 2011. Despite the success of the video release, there actually was some controversy involving the Blu-ray release of the concert. The Blu-ray version of the concert was largely criticized due to audio sync problems, so much so that the audio for the Blu-ray version was given a score of 0 out of 5 on Blu-ray.com. In addition to Nirvana's performance at the Paramount, several other notable artists have had their performances at the Paramount Theatre officially released. The Grateful Dead performed there on July 21, 1972. That performance was recorded and later released as a live album entitled Download Series Volume 10. Earlier that year, The Guess Who also performed at the venue on May 2, 1972, and their performance was later released as a live album, Live at the Paramount. On March 5th and 6th, 1992, Soundgarden performed at the Paramount, and a video recording of some of the songs they performed were later released as a concert video called Motor Vision on November 17, 1992. Heart released concert footage from the Paramount, Tenacious D released concert footage from the Paramount, the list goes on. The first time Neil Young played Rocking in the Free World in public was at the Paramount on February 21, 1989. And so I think it's suffice to say that the Paramount Theatre in Seattle is a place with its fair share of rock and roll history. And with specific regards to Nirvana, their show at the Paramount is widely regarded as one of their most important shows, and understandably so. As discussed a little earlier, it's a show that many fans and critics alike regard as one of those turning points for the band, where they really showcase their evolution from having started off as a small band in Aberdeen to now being a successful, globally recognized band. As such, the show at the Paramount has been described by many as a transformative show for Nirvana. Watching their performance with that in mind gives you even more of an appreciation for where this concert fits in the history of Nirvana. Of all the iconic performances the band had over the years, the show at the Paramount definitely ranks among them. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe for more. All the videos on this channel are original. I'm the one conducting all the interviews and editing all the videos together, so if you guys like what you see and you want to support, the best way to do so is honestly just to subscribe. Lots more to come.